The following is a presentation of the Eagles Sports Network.
Welcome here to Mossy Creek Conversations, episode number Lucky 13. I'm Richard Martin, and I am lucky to have Mr. Luke Greer. Luke, of course, former cross-country athlete and soccer athlete, and now the current distance coach for track and field and the cross-country coach. I think I got all your titles right. Is that correct?
Yeah, you got them.
Sounds great. Well, let's get into it. Of course, as you can hear, Luke, a little bit of an accent, not from East Tennessee, born in Allenton, Northampton, England. What was kind of growing up for you? What was it like growing up for you back home in England?
I mean, I love England. Obviously, born there, raised there. I had a lot of sport in my life the whole time. I've never really not played sport. And similar to America, you know, you try different sports. Everyone is doing different sports. Everyone is doing different things. I went to an all-boys school, which it wasn't private, it wasn't anything like that, but it was a very good sports school, so sport was encouraged, and obviously with all boys at your school, it's going to be competitive. There's going to be people wanting to be the best. So that was definitely a good experience for me. Obviously, like I said, I love England. It rains a lot, which isn't great, but other than that, there's always things to do. I had a lot of friends back home, but I also loved being here and being able to come out here and doing the things that I did too. So I love going home whenever I do, but it's always fun to come back out here too.
You know, and growing up, you played, known for cross country and soccer, of course. That's how you ended up here, but also you're known for table tennis, it says.
Yeah.
You know. How good were you at table tennis, and do you think you could still go today?
So my grandparents from the Netherlands. My mum's from the Netherlands, so we used to go there quite a lot. And my grandparents had a table tennis table in their garage, and so whenever I went there, me and my dad would be downstairs playing for hours and hours. He was pretty good, and I'm not sure even whether I've ever beat him still. It was one of those things that was on the bucket list that I still haven't done. Everyone says they're good at table tennis, you know. Whenever you say are you good at table, everyone's like, yes, I'm great at table tennis. So yeah, I'll stick on that bandwagon and say I'm pretty good at table tennis. If I played now, I actually played this summer against my uncle and my cousins, and I beat them all. So I've still got it, I think. I can still go out there and play. I missed the intramural table tennis, unfortunately, so I couldn't show my skills. But yeah, I mean, table tennis was one of those things. It was a lunchtime at school, and my running coach was actually the table tennis coach, I guess. He didn't really coach us. He just let us play. We'd just go at lunch, and we'd play against each other, and it'd be like a league system. If you won, you moved up. If you lost, you moved down. And we quickly established like the 4 top players, and we went to the county championships. We weren't expecting to win. It was just a bit of fun that we were going out there to play. And yeah, we ended up winning the county championships, and we went to nationals, and I don't think I won a point at nationals. Those people, their serves were moving 3 ways at once, and after that, I mean, it was all just a bit of fun. I mean, it's good for everyone. Likes table tennis, good recreational sport. So yeah, it was a fun experience. Like I said, just growing up in England, you try all these different sports, and you do them all, and the ones you're good at, you keep playing. The ones you're not, you kind of let go because you don't want to be embarrassed. But yeah, table tennis was a lot of fun growing up.
That's awesome. Well, of course, England, miles away from Carson-Newman. You know, probably didn't have heard of Jefferson City before you got in contact. How did that kind of contact get built between you and Carson-Newman?
So Richard Moody, the old soccer coach, got in contact with me, and at the time, Carson-Newman was on their national championship run. So obviously that was a huge interest to me. I had a couple other schools that I spoke to, but I think traveling here and coming out here, you want to go to the best place you possibly can, and somewhere where it's going to be super competitive and you're going to make yourself better. So Carson-Newman I watched their run to the national final. Obviously they lost in the national final, which was disappointing, but it was exciting for me knowing that I was coming to a place that was going to be competitive. And like I said, I barely looked the school up online. Like I didn't really search it. I saw a few pictures. I spoke to my roommate, who was going to be my roommate, and he sent me a few pictures, but really I had no idea what I was walking into. But yeah, so just wanting to be the best possible, and coming out, I could have stayed at home and done university. That wasn't the problem. It wasn't that I couldn't do it at home. It was for me, I wanted to keep playing soccer and further that career, but also get an education at the end of the day. So I knew I wasn't good enough ever to go professional. I knew I was never going to be able to do that. So getting a degree was important, and making sure that I did that was my main goal, but also being able to play to a high level, and I knew I could do that at Carson-Newman.
That's awesome. Well, and then of course you ended up going from soccer to cross country as well. How did that kind of relationship build with Coach David Needs when you got over here, or was that before?
So I hadn't spoken to Needs. I'd mentioned to Moody that I was a good runner when he was recruiting me, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we've got loads of good runners on the team. Like you'll just fit in." And then when we first got here, we did pre-season, and our pre-season was at 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't remember. We were out on the football practice field, and it was I think it was a 30-minute run. It might have been 35 minutes. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was just laps around the field. And that was every morning for a week. And I ran past everybody. You know, it was like no one could keep up with me. I would lap pretty much every single person that was down there. And Coach Moody was like, "Well, you were a good runner. I didn't realize you were this good." And then Alan Morgan actually came down to practice one day. I guess Coach Moody had mentioned that I was a good runner to Alan Morgan, and he came down to practice one day and he pulled me aside and he said, "Coach Moody's told me you're probably not going to be playing for the soccer team immediately. Would you mind coming out and running for the cross-country team?" And I mean, I've never really been the biggest fan of running, which is unusual, but I was good at it. So I mean, I was happy to help out if I could. So Tony Perillo was the cross-country coach at the time, and I went to see him, and I think I practiced maybe once or twice with the team. Spoke to Coach Needs a couple times, and he was very helpful, and he was excited to have me on the team, and he was always motivating me and making sure that I was happy with what I was doing. And so yeah, and then I ran a couple races, obviously my freshman year, and they went okay. I mean, considering I didn't practice, I was pretty pleased with how I did. Yeah. And then as the years kind of went by, and I saw that I wasn't really going to be playing the amount of soccer that I wanted to, I started speaking more to Coach Needs, and we kind of formulated a plan, and it worked out in the long run. And I mean, I love soccer, and I will always love soccer. And I'm obviously disappointed that it didn't work out here playing soccer, because that was the reason I came out here. But I wanted to, at the same time, I wanted to do something. I didn't want to travel all the way to America and make this big trip and have my family make these sacrifices, and for me just to sit on the bench for 4 years. That was not my goal of coming out here. And obviously being a goalkeeper, there's only one goalkeeper. So if you're not playing, you're not playing, and it's rare that anything changes in that department. So I spoke with my family a lot and made that kind of decision that I was going to try and move over to cross country if they'd have me. Luckily, Coach Needs said yes, and we organised the logistics of the whole thing, and yeah, and I guess the rest went well, and here we are now. Yeah,
and we'll talk about your first 2 years. Of course, you ran a couple of events in 2014. You didn't compete with cross country 2015 because of injury, and in 2016 you finished 4th at Maryville College Invitational. Finishing that high in that race, did you think kind of give you a glimpse of what you think you could do or how you could improve?
So that race was, I think I'd quit soccer about a week before, and I spoke to Coach Needs, like I said, and then I spoke to Christian Brewer, who was coaching us at the time. Tyler Sett was the head coach, and Christian Brewer was the GA, and we were working a lot with Christian Brewer. So I went and spoke to Christian Brewer, and he said he'd heard about me, he knew where I was coming from, and that opening race was just kind of a feeler. It was a tester to see where I was fitness-wise and what I was doing. And it was a random distance. It was like a 4.1 mile race or something. It was just a strange race, and there was about, I don't know how many teams. It wasn't very many teams. and I had no idea about my fitness. I didn't know where I was at that point. So I get there and it was cold. It was the morning, and I was like back to running cross country like I was when I had been in high school and gone to those cold meets in the morning. And we had Amos Career on the team at the time. He was from Kenya, and he was the top guy, and he finished second in that race, I think. And for me, I had no idea what I was doing, if I'm honest. I hadn't run in so long. And so I just went out there and I was running. I didn't know how much further I had to go, and I was very comfortable and just kind of moved through the race. I probably could have run faster. I probably could have finished higher, but it was more of a feeler race for me to see where I was and where I was at. So like you said, I was happy with how I did, and it kind of in a way vindicated the decision to start running again and doing that, because if I'm honest, I think I'd always known that I was better at running than I was at soccer. But obviously, I love playing soccer, and so I wanted to pursue that. So I knew I had the ability and the potential to make it and do well. So yeah, finishing fourth in that race was a great start, and I was just happy that I could kind of build from there and grow as a runner. And I knew it was going to take a lot of work. And I wasn't afraid of that. It was something, if I want to compete and I want to do well, then I have to put the work in. Mm-hmm. So that's where it kind of started, and it was rolling from there.
Well, and yeah, you did roll from there, because next year, your first 3 races, you win them all.
Mm-hmm.
Tusculum Open, 15 minutes, 38 seconds. Mm-hmm. Asheville Cross Country, 20 minutes, 15.91 seconds. The Allen Phyllis Morgan Invitational here in Jeff City, 15:10. You were just rolling that year.
Yeah.
Was it just being able to get more training, you think, and not having to focus as much on 2 sports that kind of helped you out and get ready for that year?
Yeah, so I mean, the problem with me running and playing soccer at the same time was they wanted me to be in the weight room and get bigger with soccer, and then the moment I started running again, it was lose all that weight and let's go again. So they were just counteracting each other the whole time. So me getting the mileage in, and I wasn't hitting major mileage at that point. I never really hit major mileage in my career, but I was probably running maybe 40, 50 miles a week. And it was just getting that base and having that solid fitness that really helped me. And through the summer, I was training pretty hard, because I wanted to come back and prove myself. I wanted to come back and do something. And we went to that first meet at Tusculum, and I remember it pretty well because it was warm, it was sticky, it was just like a classic Tennessee evening, and there was flies everywhere hovering, like you'd run through a bunch of flies. And I remember winning that race quite comfortably, and that was the start for me. I was like, this is going to be a good year. I'm going to do what I need to do. And I remember there was a kid from LMU that came up to me, and he said, "You ran last year at the SAC Championships, didn't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "You weren't that good." And I was like, "No, you're right. I wasn't that good." And then he came out with the weirdest statement I've ever heard. He was like, "Have you been blood doping over the summer?" And I was like, where have you pulled this from? Why are you asking me if I've been blood doping over the summer? I guess he brought a load of people from LMU because I think he was expecting to win the race, and I kind of got in his way, and he finished second by a good, I don't know how far it was, but he was quite far behind me. So I think I burst his bubble, and he wasn't very happy with me. But yeah, those first few races, and the one at Asheville, there was a couple of D1 schools there, so it was a bigger meet, and I was a little bit more nervous about what was going to happen, but I went out pretty hard and opened up a gap pretty swiftly, and then I mean I didn't know how many laps we had to run. I couldn't remember how many laps we had to do, so I was asking the bike in front of me. I was like, how many laps we got to do? How much further do we have to go? I was asking my coach as I was running by, like, how many more laps have I got? Because I wasn't worried about the other people catching me. I was just ready for the race to be over. And then the one that we had here I mean, it's obviously the only one we've had, which is sad, but with it only being a 5K, it's kind of hard for us logistically to fit it into the schedule. Because I'd love to be able to have another meet here. But yeah, it was a lot of fun being able to run here and just be able to do that and do something on your home course, and obviously win was great. there were a couple of schools there. It wasn't the biggest meet, but for me it was about coming out and winning it and just doing my best. And it was cool having Alan Morgan and I think Phyllis was here as well, and having some people support me. I mean, it's rare that people can come support us because a lot of our races are in North Carolina or they're further away. Cross country is not the most entertaining sport to watch. I'll admit, you have to run around and chase people around the course and find them. So, yeah, it was cool to have some people here to watch, and the track team came down and supported us. And I still have the shirt that we got from winning it, and I wear it quite often. They got larges for some reason, and we're all cross country runners, so I think they're all dresses on everyone that got one. But I still wear it around, and it's definitely a cool memory to have, and to have my name on the only meet we've had here and to win is definitely something that I'm very proud of, and something that I look on with pride.
And that year, you finish up, you get second in the SAC championships, go to the Southeast Regionals and get fourth, and then you've been the first runner for men's cross country since 2005 to run in the nationals, and you finished 42nd. And not bad for your first time appearing at nationals, especially for a former soccer player that's transitioning. Did you feel like any pressure during that first national championship run?
I don't think I really. It was one of those where I had no idea where I was going to finish. It was one of those races where it was up in Indiana and it was miserable. It was cold. It was just, I mean, the whole thing was just miserable. And I remember going out really hard. I mean, because my coach said to me, he said, go out hard and it's just hold on. Like if you're not up there, because top 40 obviously got All-American. So that was my goal. It was I want to be an All-American. So I went out hard. I think like if you can even look back on the results and like you can see where I was after like the first K, second K, whatever. And I think I was up in like the top 20 after the first like few miles. I stayed in there the whole time. Like I was in the top 40 until about the last 400 meters of the race. And then there was about 10 people that overtook me, and finishing 42nd was it was a sucker punch to me, because obviously I'd worked so hard and my goal was to be an All-American, and there was no pressure on me. It was wherever I finished, like I've had a great year. It's been a successful year. I'm happy with what I've done. And yeah, like I said, finishing 42nd, it was tough, because initially I thought I'd finish 41st, and that was even worse. And then I was like 42nd, I was like, that's okay, there's two people that beat me. So yeah, it was that, but I think in the long run, it probably benefited me. It probably helped me with the fact that it motivated me even more to come back and be in even better shape and push that extra and even harder to be where I wanted to be. But yeah, I was definitely disappointed with finishing 42nd, and I remember after the race just not wanting to talk and not wanting to do anything, just because I was annoyed. But I'm not one of those people who kind of holds on to the disappointment. It's more about the motivation and where you're going to go from there. So that's what I tried to do as much as possible. I remembered it, I didn't forget it, and I focused on my training. That made me push harder during training. That made me do the extra miles and work harder to get where I wanted to be. Because like I said, with running, it's fairly simple. If you want to get better at running, you run more and you run faster. And so that's what I did through the summer, and I did what I could to be in the best shape possible. And came back stronger and better and faster. So,
and that you did next year, come back, you win your first race, you've stayed top 10 for all your races, finished second at SAC again, second at Southeast Regional, but you finished 8th in the D2 National Championships. The first All-American in cross country for Carson-Newman since 1989, first one in Division II. Just all that work paid off. What was it like that last year for you to just finally see all the work you've put in pay off?
So that year was a weird one, because the summer I had a hip injury for most of it, and my training was not great at all. And I wanted to push stuff. I wanted to do the best I could, and my body just wasn't having it. And then I came back here and I got with Kelly Brock, and she helped me a lot, and I give a lot of praise to her for the season I had. Without her, I wouldn't have got where I got. But the season started well. I had a good first few races. I was happy that I was going. We went to Queens, and I ran fast at Queens, which was awesome. Ran under 24 for the 8K, which was a big goal. And obviously we go to the SAC Championships, and I hadn't won the SAC Championships yet, and I still haven't, which is one of those things that also really irks me. And it was in South Carolina, and it was me and Daniel Wallace from Queens, and we were kind of battling it out the whole race. And he just got me at the end, really. He was a miler, and so he had a lot more base speed than I do. And in that race, he got me at the end. And yeah, that was disappointing, and that because it was something that I never got to do, which sucks. But then regionals was probably even worse, because I lost by 0.6 of a second or something. In a 10K race, you lose by 0.6 of a second. You think it's 100 meters, but you've run 10,000 meters, and then you lose by this much. That hurt a lot. But I think all those things kind of mentally made me stronger and made me fight more and want it more. And Eric Phillips, he came in that year, and he was probably the exact coach that I needed. He was really knowledgeable, and he really pushed me in the right direction and made me do the right things a lot more. And I was focusing a lot on my running, and I was living the running. That's what I was doing. Obviously, I was doing my schoolwork, I was doing everything that I needed, but I was living being a runner and making sure my body was in the right shape. And he helped me with that, and it was tough. Training was very tough, because most of the time it was me practicing by myself. And as I think most runners could tell you, when you're practicing by yourself, it's hard to stay motivated. It's you against the clock. It's you racing the clock. And I had the support of my teammates, but they couldn't keep up with me. And it was a great team at the time, and they were really pushed me and motivated me to get where I wanted to get. But yeah, training was miserable. It was majority of was down at the creek. I think I ran the mile loop about 1,000 times that year. I could run it with my eyes closed now. But it made me stronger. It made me better. It all got me ready for going to nationals, and kind of redemption for me. I wanted to make sure that I was in the top 40 this time, and I didn't lose out by 2 places. I remember Coach Stepp it was Coach Needs was there, Eric was there, Eric Phillips, and then my parents and my sister, and then a couple friends had come too. But I remember the track team was at a track meet at Roanoke, and I remember Coach Stepp telling me that everyone was kind of watching the results, the live results, and because you could see each mile like where I was going up and down. And apparently he called Needs, and he was like, he's so far in the top 40, like I don't think he's going to slip out now. And Coach Needs was saying he's more likely to win this race than he is to slip out of the top 40. Because I mean, it was my kind of race. It was a cold, wet, hilly, disgusting race. It was not a nice race. And in England, that's every cross-country race. Every cross-country race is hilly, muddy, horrible. And you learn to love it. And I guess the Americans were too soft, you know. They could there were some great runners there, and I was happy that I beat Daniel Wallace, who obviously beat me at conference. I beat I can't remember his name, the guy who beat me at regions, and those were my goals. Like I wanted to redeem those, and then obviously finish top 40. And I remember there was a hill just before the end, and then you turned left, and I remember coming through there, and I saw my parents and I saw Coach Needs, and they're like, there's a guy coming, and I was like, yeah, I can't go anymore, guys. Like I'm in the top 10. I'm happy where I am. Like he can go by me if he wants. I'm really not that bothered anymore. But it was an awesome feeling. It was a great feeling having like my family there and having people there and having them witness it. I think that spurred me on even more to do even better and to run even faster, because I didn't want them to fly all the way over there for nothing. So that was definitely a really cool experience for me. And like you said, to be the first All-American since, I can't remember what you said, 1989 was it? Is amazing, and that was my goal when you come here and you kind of see the All-American Hall and you see everybody. I think that's every athlete's goal when they come here. They want to have their picture on that wall. So for me to be able to do that and achieve that goal was special for me, and it was definitely something that I'll look back on with fond memories.
And so we'll move on. Now we're going to look at your track and field career. Of course, not as rainy, cold, disgusting at the beginning with indoor.
True.
But is there kind of a difference when you go from you're running outside, you got to prepare for the elements, to you're back inside now? It's a flat track for the most part. It's just a complete circle, and then having to go back outside again after that. Is there kind of a difference that runners have to kind of get used to when they go from cross country to track?
So I never really had much of an indoor career. I never really had much of a track career. I wasn't very good at track, so I didn't really like it. That was my philosophy. And I loved cross country because it didn't really matter what time you ran. It was man to man, who was better, like who could get through the elements, who could push through, who could run faster up that hill, who could do that. And that for me was what I loved. I mean, I'm a competitive person. I want to win. So every race I went into, I expected myself to win. It didn't matter what race it was. If it was nationals or it was the meet here at Carson-Newman, I said to myself, I'm going to win this race. And if people beat me, then I looked at it and went, they must be really good. So that's kind of how I went into every race. And indoor, I never really had that mentality with track because I hadn't been that good. I was like, it's track. I'm just not that good at this. And then running indoor is different. You're obviously sometimes you're on a 300-meter track, sometimes you're on a 200-meter track. So it's a lot of laps. The 5K around a 200-meter track is 25 laps around this tiny track. So it's a lot of left turns and it's a lot of running. It's a lot of laps, and it's mentally quite tough. It's definitely something that you have to mentally learn to be able to push through. And it took me some time to do that, definitely. I remember I used to get fatigued because you could see the lap counter, you could see how many laps you had to go, you could see how far you had to go, and so you see that you still have 3K to go, and you're like, I'm tired, like I've already had enough of this, and I've still got 3K to go. So you'd give up mentally, and then you'd lose that race, or you wouldn't do as well as you wanted to do. And indoor with the air's kind of dry, and you'll hear a lot of distance runners especially coughing when they're done just because of the dry air. So it's definitely something that you have to adjust and adapt to. And I did that eventually, and I quite enjoyed indoor track at the end of it. I quite enjoyed doing it. I quite enjoyed doing track. It was fun being able to compete and make it to nationals and do those things, because wasn't really something that I expected, if I'm completely honest. I was fortunate that we got to go to some of the big races, and I got to compete against the best people in the country. And Eric Phillips, my coach, he'd been to Grand Valley. He was a student there, so we had a lot of contacts up there. So we got to go up there, and I got to train with those guys a couple times. And they had Zach Panning, who was the best runner in D2 at the time. He finished second at cross country, but then he won the 5K indoor, he won the 5K, 10K outdoor, and they just had their whole team it was an awesome team, and it was a great experience for me to be able to go up there and rub shoulders with those guys and do those things. So that was definitely something that I was very fortunate to be able to do, and I appreciate having someone like Eric who had those contacts and allowed me to do that. And Coach Needs allowed us to kind of go to the meets that we wanted to go to. I spent a lot of time with Eric Phillips. We got to know each other very well, because on 12-hour drives there's not much else to do than kind of chat, or me nap and him drive, and I'd feel bad napping. So we learned a lot about each other. And we'd go to the hotel together, and our TV of choice was always the Food Network. So we watched a lot of Chopped and Beat Bobby Flay and all sorts of things. So that was cool. And that year was just a great year all around. From indoor to outdoor to cross country, it was just all around a really, really enjoyable year. And to be able to do the things that I wanted to do and achieve the things that I did was definitely something that I'll always be thankful for.
And so you end up graduating undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
Was there really a plan after undergrad? Were you always going to try to come back here or try to stay in this area?
So I wanted to come back and do my master's. So the plan was to be a graduate assistant with Eric. That was the plan, and that was organised for me. And I was happy with that. That was a good deal for me. I enjoyed coaching, and I wanted to Schulbach come here and try and kind of continue the legacy that we were starting to build here with cross country and track. And Eric was a great coach, and I wanted to learn from him. I could see myself at the time being a coach and doing that, and I knew that he could help me in being with Coach Needs and Coach Stepp. They're all great coaches. So it was going to be an honor for me to be able to come back and work under those coaches. And then I get a call from Eric, and he says, "I've got some bad news for you." And I thought he was going to say I couldn't come back in GA, and that was it. But he tells me that he's got an opportunity to go up to Saginaw Valley, which was where he was from and where he was born. And so, I mean, did I like that he told me that? Not really. Was I happy that he wasn't going to come back? Not really, but I was pumped for him, and it was going to be a great experience for him, and he's doing a great job up there now. And so he called me, and then I got a call from Coach Nees, and he said, "I assume you've already heard about Eric." And I was like, "Yeah, well, what are we going to do?" Obviously, we've got 2 weeks before the season starts. Like, we don't have much time. And he was like, "We're going to look for another coach, but for now, you're going to take over and do the day-to-day." And I'm not going to lie, it was pretty daunting, just going from running the year before and being on the team with a lot of these people to now being their coach was definitely a daunting task. And I didn't, because I wanted to carry on running. As much as I don't like running, I wanted to carry on running and see how far I could get. So I was hitting 80-mile weeks. Like I was in really, really good shape. And immediately after I was told that I was gonna take over as a coach, I said, right, I'm not gonna have time for running. So I kind of just gave up. I just left it. I just let it go. And in a way, I look back at it, and I wouldn't say I regret not carrying on running, but I am always intrigued as to how far I could have gone and what I could have hit. Like I set myself goals. I wanted to go under 14 minutes for the 5K. I wanted to go under 29 minutes for the 10K. Those were all goals that I'd set, and I think I could have achieved them, but obviously I'll never know. I can't prove it. And so, I mean, it was a tough decision, stopping running and not doing it. I mean, my body said, "Thank you, Luke. You don't have to run anymore." That's great. So, yeah, I knew I wanted to coach, and I knew I wanted to give it a go. But I'm not sure I was expecting being thrown in straight after graduating to being the coach and doing that. And it's been a learning experience. I've learned a lot in these first couple of years. And I talked to Eric, I talked to the other coaches. I tried to make as many contacts as possible to learn from them, because I know what I did as a runner or worked for me, but obviously everyone's different as a runner, and there's so many different things that everyone else needs. So I just try and talk to as many people as possible and learn as much as I can, and try and build this team to be the best it can. I mean, cross country there's not a great, huge legacy of cross country at Carson-Newman, but hopefully one day we can build to that and build a team that can make it to nationals as a team and can compete in conference and can kind of knock Queens off their perch. And because I mean, I don't hate Queens, but it's always hard watching them win the cross country and win the distance and win win indoor and outdoor track and all that kind of stuff. And I got quite close to a lot of the Queen's guys during my last season of running because they were always at the same meets as me. And so I was by myself just with my coach, and then they were there together. So I got quite close to them, and it turned out they were actually quite nice guys, which I also didn't like. I wanted to hate them, but they were nice guys. So that was cool, building a relationship with them as well. But still, I still want to knock them off their perch and get Carson-Newman up there as high as possible and compete in every way that we can to be the best that we can.
And so when you're coaching here, you're with Coach Needs, you're with Coach Steph, but you also have several former teammates on the staff with you, Kieran Schuyler-Davis, Chris Potts-Howard, Samantha Gudger. How is it, does it feel like more of a big family than a staff really coming back, seeing all these people that you've known for years now?
To me, it's awesome that Carson-Newman does it a lot where they bring back people who have been at the university. And I think it's really important because it's hard to kind of grasp Carson-Newman unless you've been here and you've coming in as a new coach who's never been here. It can be tough to understand what it's like here. And I think we're very fortunate everyone on staff apart from Tyler did their undergrad here. So that's cool for everybody to have that. We all have an affinity for Carson-Newman. We all want to see it do the best it possibly can be. And I think everybody who comes to Carson-Newman and graduates through here and has a successful time, they all want Carson-Newman to be the best. It's weird. You just want to see it succeed and do really well. And you come to love Jeff City in its own strange way. And so having all of us on staff who have been here and lived here for a long time, and like you said, we were on the team together, and it is a family, and we hang out, and we're fortunate enough that we got to move offices, and we have our own space together now, and we meet regularly and we talk regularly, and we hang out outside of coaching, and it's really important because as a coaching staff, you don't want to be, yes, they are different events. Like you do have the distance, you have the sprints, the jumps, the throws. You have all these different things going on. But at the end of the day, we're all still a coaching staff, and the track team and cross-country team and everybody is still a team. And we want them to see that we're a team together. And when Devon does well or Joseph does well, we're a team at the end of the day, and so everybody's succeeding. And that's what we want the athletes to see from us, that we're just as pleased when Devon runs super fast as when Rachel runs super fast for me, or anybody else runs super fast or runs a PB for me. That it's just as important that everyone else on the team is doing well. And I think because we have that close family as a coaching staff, we do actually feel that it's not just a fake, hey, good job, like I'm happy for you. We are genuinely happy for them, and we want their athletes to succeed just as much as we want our own people that we coach. So yeah, I don't think there's many coaching staffs in D2 or D1 that kind of has the same, wealth of knowledge about the university that we do, or have the close-knit coaching staff that we do. I think most of them are a little bit more distant. They don't have that ability to be able to talk to each other. And if I'm struggling with something coaching-wise, I can go talk to anybody and get their opinion on what they think. And it's the same if they need anything, then they can come talk to me. And we want to help each other, and we want to, like I said, just see Carson-Newman succeed and grow. On the track side, we've been pretty successful in these past couple of years, especially on the men's side. Obviously finishing top 25, about 4 years in a row, I think. Having Tanner Stepp as national champion. Obviously we've got Devon was number one in the nation. He finished second in the 100, 200, and we've got Joseph now, who obviously this past weekend just destroyed everybody. And so that's really, really cool, and we just want to build on that success and keep moving forward and be one of the top programs at Carson-Newman, where everyone goes, wow, have you seen the track team? Like, they're awesome. Like they always make it to nationals, they always win conference, they always are top in the region. And I think, especially considering we don't have a track, we don't have a lot of the facilities that these other schools that we compete against have. For us to be able to do it with that lack of facilities, I think that's a credit to the coaching staff and what they do. The fact that we can compete at this level, is big, and I think the more experience we get as a coaching staff, and the more time that we're here, it will just keep getting better and better and better, and we can create a strong legacy here with the track team.
Luke, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
That's been Mossy Creek Conversations with Luke Greer. You can find out more information on Carson-Newman track and field, cross country, and the rest of the Eagle Athletics at seeandeagles.com. For Eagle Sports Network, I'm Richard Martin. Thank you for watching and listening.